In this video, I will be answering some most asked questions that I got from you guys. Hello guys, I'm ChefPanko and I work in a Japanese restaurant. Subscribe if you want to know more about cooking and knives. Let's jump right into the questions. I have tested around 50 Chinese-made knives from different price ranges and brands. The first thing I want to answer is the Damascus knives from China are real Damascus. The answer is no, they are not real since they don't make them and especially not at the price point that they sell them for. But I think what you guys want to know is the following. The Damascus pattern is created by layering a few steels onto each other to create the pattern. But you have lasered Damascus, that is something I don't recommend since that one is labeled as a fake Damascus. So if you wash the layered steel pattern, also labeled as a real Damascus, then you won't be able to wash it away. As you can see in this example, even with deep scratches, the pattern is still visible. And here's a comparison from a Chinese-made knife and a Japanese-made knife. Both are labeled as Damascus. The same also applies to the Shun Classic and the GHL VG10 chef's knife from China. Both are also labeled as a real Damascus, or in other words, layered steel onto each other. You also have Damascus Edging, but the key factor is that you won't be able to wash it away when it has been created with layers or etching, but the lasered version can be washed away. Now on to the next question, do they use a real VG10 from Japan? As for VG10, I have extreme mixed experience and the quality and the edge retention differs from brand to brand. Most of the sellers sells the 10CR15 comb off, and that is what they call the Chinese version that is equivalent to the Japanese VG10. Out of all the knives, there's only a select few that I like, but I won't call them an imported Japanese VG10 since the heat treatment for those is not good, but definitely great for the price that they sell them for. Now let's talk about the Japanese imported AUS10 made in China. This is something I'm consistently happy about and the edge retention is good. I prefer the AUS10 over any VG10 that is made in China. However, a lot of resellers lie about this in the specifications and sell the Chinese version 10CR15 comb off. So always contact the seller to double check. The Chinese manufacturers are doing a great job with the AUS10 and that is something that can't be said with the claimed imported Japanese VG10 knives. Now onto the Chinese VG10 called 10CR15 comb off. The quality fluctuates a lot from manufacturer or brand and the only one I'm confident in recommending is Xinzuo or the reseller Yaren. There are a lot more resellers. Yaren is one that I could confirm, but keep in mind that Yaren also sells knives from other manufacturers under their own name. Another question I got is the following. Is the 10CR15 comb off better than a real Japanese VG10 made in Japan? And the answer is no, they are not better, but they are coming pretty close and that's for a fraction of the price. And the most common question is what knife do I recommend? Each knife has its ups and downs. Most Chinese knives are not there yet in quality control. And that is why I also make individual knife reviews with as much details as possible so that you can decide it for yourself. But I have to say that I prefer an imported Japanese AUS10 made in China over the 10CR15 comb off and the imported Japanese VG10 that is made in China. Now let's move on to the quality control. Some brands have great quality but some have problems with protrusions on the wooden western handle, some are off balance or the handle is too big and uncomfortable to hold. And one of the most common problems with the octagonal handle is that they are not glued straight or in the center. And some knives are even not worth the money and can be thrown away directly. A few examples of those knives is from the brand Wallop. Their AUS8 version is just uncomfortable to hold, the pattern is a hassle to clean and the edge retention is not good either. Even their wooden handles are unnecessarily big. And then you have this Deba from Seoul. It is too light to be called a Deba and it destroys the fish completely. The overall build quality is just bad and should never be used or sold in the first place. So the following comment I can totally understand from Extra Benin. And that is about the kuroichi finish that I'm also not happy with. The knife they were referring to was a grand shop knife with a kuroichi finish. Despite being extremely cheap, I share the exact same thought that the finish should not come off easily or come off at all. Now onto the expectations and the bad stigma around Chinese made knives. And there are knives that is totally not worth your money. But sometimes there are some hidden gems, but unfortunately it is a gamble in the quality control. That is one of the reasons why I made a review about each of the knives that I have tested and tried to include all the details about them. So I also understand that some are not happy. For example, he paid $140 that includes a knife sheet for just one Xinzuo knife. A knife that is sold for around $40 to $50, so I totally understand his expectation for the knife was not on par for what he paid for. But this is also a brand that I recommend, but not at $140 price point. So in this case, I immediately thought that he got scammed. Just to answer his question, not all Chinese made knives are bad. For example, brands like Infinity is coming very close to a Japanese made knife but then made in China. And as extra information that you should know is the following. Before buying a knife on AliExpress, never buy it at full price. The knives are on discount all year long. Sometimes they are at full price because they are changing some things in the store. But you just have to wait for a day or two for it to go on sale again. I would say only buy it when it is on a discount of 45% or more. I can't say which brand is good or bad since each brand and even the series from the brand is different. And I can't personally test all the knives that are sold on AliExpress, so my suggestion is to look at the reviews. That's it for this video. I hope that some of your questions are answered, and if you have more questions, ask them in the comment section below. Subscribe if you want to know more about knives and cooking. Thank you for watching, and I see you in the next video.